Beloved, this is it, the final episode of building a fishing boat for under $3,000. Today we'll be covering rigging everything out, from the motor I chose, battery, sonar, if there's a little bit of room left, maybe some tackle and safety equipment. So let's jump into where I started with the motor, and I ended up buying the cheapest motor I could find at Bass Pro Shops, the Minn Kota Endura. It was $150. The lowly Endura. 34 foot-pounds of thrust. That's not very much, but I do have 6 hours of fishing with it, and it was perfect. Now this boat is set up classic West Coast high alpine lake trout fishing boat. All right, gentlemen, let's recap. So where are we with our budget? So we have $900 for the boat. We've got $1,500 for the trailer. We got $150 for the motor. And that brings us currently to $2,050. So we've got almost $1,000 to play with. When I was picking up that motor, I thought, well, I'll grab a deep cycle battery. I'm such an old boomer. I just can't believe how much things cost these days. I went over to the battery section, and for a 100 amp hour battery at a Bass Pro, it was $500. And then I thought, didn't I build kind of a Franken battery for the adventure van that may still be good? I put a charge on it and I tested it, and indeed it is good. And this is 200 amp hours. 3.2 volt batteries wired in series to produce 13.65 volts charge. So this thing is a real powerhouse. This is probably a $1,000 battery. So that's going to help the boat build, meaning I already owned it and I'm not going to attribute it to the cost of the build. And this is the lead for the trolling motor. I'm going to want to eventually get a battery box for this, but I have not been able to find one for this odd size, so I may have to build something. We'll see. So I'll have to figure out a way to tether this on here now. All right, gentlemen, shall we give it the smoke test? Now I have high expectations. These are built by Minnesota man. Reverse, 2, 3, forward. Oh, what's that? A bad bearing after 6 hours of use? You see, that's why Midwest man does not have West Coast status. While I was at the shop picking up the motor, I had no intention of buying Sonar, but the young man that was helping me was so enthusiastic about these that I just couldn't help myself. And the price wasn't bad, so I added $120, and I ended up with, this was the cheapest of the Garmin of the Sonar, the Striker 4. Now, this is not a paid ad. I just paid for it, $120. What does that get us? Well, after using it, as I said, for 6 hours, incredibly handy. It gave me a water temperature. It has a GPS. It gave me speed. It gave me, obviously, the depth, as well as navigation, and well, there's something else, but we'll install it here. It was really nice. I really enjoyed it. It really helped. I could really see and identify fish and tell depths, and it made a big difference on how much fish we caught because I was able to present lures at that depth. So I haven't even scratched the surface of this, and I know that there's a lot more capable than these, but I'm happy to have it for $120. So let's install it, and I'll show you where I put it and why. This Garmin was well worth the money. I'm very, very happy about it. This is a Skookum unit. You get the depth. Not only that, but you get the voltage. So I know where the battery's at. I get my, it's got a GPS in it, so I get my speed. If you want to control trolling, it's got the time, and then water temperature. I've had a lot of boats in the past, mostly aluminum sleds with outboard jet pumps on them. I've had center console as well as tiller, meaning steering wheel up front or on the side versus a tiller handle on the back, and I prefer fishing from a tiller handle out of the back. And how I set these up is I will sit here, and this is basically the cockpit. So we can mount up this fish finder right here so I can easily see it and play around with it. If I can, there we go. Now if I'm sitting here, I got the motor, I can see this and adjust it, as well as I'll put a, well, we'll move on next to a rod holder right here off the, is that the, I forget, starboard, port side maybe? Port side. Here's a benefit I was not expecting, that Sonar came with a trolling motor mount. It was included in the box. It just zip ties on, And that is super, super nice. I don't have to drill holes into the transom, which I did not want to do. Let's tally up everything we have before we add the rod holders. That fish finder was $120, and the Scotty rod holder was $29. These are really nice rod holders, these Scotties. I had never seen them. And this is the most basic entry-level one. They have some really fancy ones. But you've got a simple adjustment here. And I like this. I usually run without this. Usually we'll get like a cork handled rod that's a little bit longer in the back, so you've got the extra. I don't like the hindrance of this when setting the hook. So I'll probably just run that down there and take my chances, if you know what I mean. I picked up a couple float cushions while I was there, 10 bucks a piece. So can be used as a flotation device, but primarily for sitting on. Now we're gonna need a bow line. I went to the fancy rope section. Like, I'll just make do with what I have. So my goodness, how much mileage do I get out of this piece of rescue webbing? 16 feet of rescue webbing is, it seems like I use this every week, but I'll just use this for now. I'll weave it on here. You'll want a bow line for if you need to be towed, moving it around, unloading, loading it. So we'll just do just a classic weave here. This webbing is light and it'll blow out, and then the trailer runs over it and you got all sorts of problems. So we'll weave it up. And that last loop you get, just go back through the loop you made, and then you can put a carabiner on it, and that prevents it from coming undone. And now you have a nice bow line. Now if you need to pull it out, all you do is remove that carabiner, unhook that first loop, and it just pulls free. The guy I bought the boat from threw in 50 feet of poly rope. I'll keep that in there. I stole the Sweet Loaf's stand-up paddleboard paddle for a backup. Now that leaves us at our budget when we add the rod holder and the cushions. That was another $50. So our grand total to date is $2,220. That leaves room for a new fishing pole, does it not? That $150 motor freed up a whole bunch of headspace for some for some new fishing gear, did it not? So I went with, these are beautiful rods, St. Croix. This is their entry level, the Triumph series, but this is a 7-foot medium light action, which is what I like. I like a little play in it that would flex, I'm going to say, well, kind of into light steelhead, but primarily for trolling forward fenders. And so if you're going to be deep lake trolling, you need something with a little bit of backbone to it, because you're using an ounce of weight, or heavy divers or that sort of thing, flashers. So you need you can't have you have to have a decent rod. So for the reel, I went with I've always used Shimano or Garcia. This was a beautiful reel. I had not seen this line, but a gorgeous drag. Is this the Nassie? I don't know. Number 8 Maxima line has 140 yards on there. So this is a little light for steelhead, but you could with skill, and if the river wasn't too gnarly. This rod holder is really nicely paired with this combo. So this, you can close that up if you want to. I guess if it was rough out, I might consider that. But that's a good setup there. It doesn't interfere with the reel too bad. Now if you want to be using a bait caster maybe in the spring, that's going to run down here like that, be a little bit deeper. But it works perfectly fine, easy to adjust. So I'm very happy with that. There is even some room for a new tackle box in some of my favorite tackle, and still will be under budget. I just decided to start using girl math, and my life has just gotten so much better. Tackle box, I usually keep it simple. I don't want dividers and all that. I carry very few things. I don't fish all that often. I know what I want, and so I just got a small waterproof box here. That way it'll float if it falls out of the boat. Brass and rainbow. This is the one that I caught. We did really good with it up on the lake up north, above Fuji. And then a couple in the deeper stuff, I'll do forward fenders, like a forward fender, and then a couple of leaders. So Maxima, of course, 3 and 5 pound. And I got some pre-tied bait hooks here. So we could use, you can use salmon eggs or corn. What else did I get? Some heavy split shots, and I use these in my local lakes because if they're real weedy, because I'll use it like a poor man's downrigger right off the bottom of the boat. So now that I have the fish finder, I can control the depth. So a couple of those, and then I threw in a pair of pliers just for my extras from my toolbox, and this Mora knife for cutting bait fish. There, I had that in my box. A horn, I think they're funny about that. This is really a nice little waterproof box. It's a Plano clear, so you can see what's inside. It's got a little silicone, like a cutting pad there for bait. And it's got rubber feet on the bottom, which was really nice. The vibration from the motor, how many times have I had my tackle or my organizing box slide off into the bottom of the boat and spill out? It stuck right to that seat, that texture. It was just a nice little benefit. So I'm happy with this. So we'll put all this in here, and let's see, where does that leave us at our budget? So the fishing rod and reel combo with line came out to $200, and then let's say $200 for the ancillary, the box and all the tackle and the horn and stuff. So that brings us to a grand total of our budget boat build of $2,420. That gave us a brand new motor, a brand new trailer, and a nicely used 22-year-old 12-foot Grager H series. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. You see, using girl math, we actually saved money. We saved money, gentlemen, by buying a fishing boat. May God bless you and your families. Please keep us in your prayers. If you enjoyed this series, I invite you to subscribe. Come and join us. Maybe we'll head up and we'll try it out and see if we can't put some fish in the boat. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you all on the next video. First fish on. Okay, what do you got there? Bring it up. We missed the fight. Look at that beautiful trout. Now just reach down carefully and grab him behind the gills. There you go, you got him. All right, now show him. Don't squeeze him too hard, just carefully. Hold him up. Show mama. Squeeze it awfully hard, Lou. All right, let's turn him loose.